Hey everyone, this is Steve with another episode of Keep 'em Rolling. It's been a little bit since the last episode, and I was waiting for something to come. That's why I didn't shoot an episode, and it's finally here. So today I'm going to talk to you about doing research and how cool it is to do research, the amazing things that you can find. The last episode I shot of Keep 'em Rolling, I talked about the show of shows. I had a fantastic time, very tiring. I encourage any of you who collect military yet to try and make it to the show of shows at least once. It is truly amazing. The prices are all over the place, but there are deals to be made if you are savvy and take your time. Now, for me, unfortunately, the show of shows was a little disappointing. I found some cool things, but I had a weird thing happen. There are things on my list that I have been looking for years, and I saw one of them at the show of shows, and I was so excited. And I mean, it was like I see it from down the aisle, and I immediately head over to it, and this is on Thursday, and I get there, and there's one gentleman in front of me, and he's buying a very expensive item. I think it was like $500, and he's talking to the dealer, and he's like, "Oh, I like this is great, $500, yep, and I'll take that too, and that too, and that too," and he bought $1,500 worth of stuff off this guy's table, including the item that I was looking for. It killed me, okay? Later on, same day, I'm going down a different row. I see a jacket, a Navy jacket I've been looking for a long time. I head right, I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, and I'm gonna go look at it, and guy in front of me is like, oh yeah, could I see that jacket too? And the guy, sure, gets it down. Yeah, I'll take this too. And I'm just like, oh, I mean, it just absolutely crushed me. So I still found some cool things, but I did not check one thing off my list. My list is pretty simple. It had the Navy jacket, had the other item. I wanted a grouping from Sailor Aboard an LST and so forth and so on, but not one thing checked off. But I still had fun. That brings me to this right here. Now, for those of you who watched the last episode, you've already seen this uniform, okay? This is the Navy uniform that I bought to 1M Kalinchek. I bought it because it was complete. You had the jumper in great shape with the discharge insignia. You have the trousers here, you have the cap, and you have the economy tie. The uniform's great because it has the Minesweeper insignia on it, which I've always wanted to have. Plus, as you saw, it has the lovely Liberty cuffs and Liberty art. I do not have one with Liberty art under the flap in the back. Love it. Just beautiful. Plus, it's ID. As we said, you can see very clearly M Kalinchek with 9221309. So identified. That's fantastic. Plus, I will point out the Liberty cuffs. I have several in my collection. These are different, which is really cool. A lot of times you see kind of that same Liberty cuff. It was a standard pattern and they just sew it in, but these are different. Now, for doing research on a uniform like this, what I do is I will sit down with the internet and I will just start typing in various searches. I'll type in Kalinchek, M Kalinchek, M Kalinchek in quotes, Kalinchek without quotes. I'll do things like Kalinchek World War II, Kalinchek Navy. I'll just keep trying, hoping to hit something. And I'd done several searches without any luck. And then all of a sudden, I hit a site. And the site is one of these weird ones that pulls things off at eBay. So I went to the site and I scrolled through. It took me about a half an hour to scroll through all their listings they had, and I came across a link to eBay where a gentleman was selling this right here. And if we look, this is M Kalinchek. This is his Navy dog tag, United States Navy Reserve, blood type A, tetanus shot in 45, Catholic, serial number. Just, I mean, absolutely amazing. I could not believe it. And it was buy it now. Now, here's where I almost became a stupid person. All right, I saw it buy it now. The guy wanted $25 for it, and I thought that's a little bit much for a dog tag. But you know what? He had to make an offer. So I thought, I'll make an offer. Because with shipping, you're going to be like at $28. Like, that's kind of a lot. So I got to make the offer already. And then I thought to myself, you moron. What happens if the guy gets mad and doesn't take your offer and then doesn't want to deal with you? Or what happens if somebody else, for some bizarre reason, wants this dog tag and hits the buy it now, and now you're out of luck? That was a long pause. Sorry. So I backed off and I did the buy it now, because there was no way I wanted to see this dog tag separated from this uniform. All right, that was just, it was just an amazing find. That's kind of what I was waiting for to shoot this episode. I was waiting for it to arrive. The gentleman that sold it to me said he bought a large dog tag collection. There was nothing more from M. Kalinchek in that collection. All right, so got the dog tag, got the jumper. Now, the internet was not really giving me much more. So I switched over to a database called Ancestry. Ancestry is one of these things you have to be careful with. Use it with a grain of salt. It is a subscription-based. You have to pay to use it. However, my local public library has Ancestry for free. If I go into the library, I can sit down at one of their database computers, and I can get on Ancestry and do my research. In Ancestry, this is the library edition, so it doesn't give you everything that like the subscription edition gives you, but it gives you tons of stuff. And in there, there's a way to put in, you select military and you can put in a name. So I put in M. Kalinchek, didn't come up with anything, tried Kalinchek, and I hit the mother load. Now I'm going to be doing this from partial memory, so bear with me on this, but M. Kalinchek, he enlisted in January of 1944. So he's at a good time, okay? He must have had a new dog tag issued, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But when he joined up, he was assigned after boot to the LST 656. I could not believe it. I had gone to the show of shows to buy an LST grouping, and I found one. I didn't know I had found one, but I had found one. The LST 656, it launched, I don't think I have the launch date written down here. I don't, but it basically traveled across the Atlantic and took part in the invasion of southern France in September and October of 1944. Wow, an LST sailor. Once again, I was just absolutely shocked. Going online now, I took LST 656 and I found that they have an actual website for the LST. And when you go in, this one's the crew of the LST 656, and when we look here, we can see there's Michael Kalinchek. So I now have his first name of Michael. This just keeps opening up the doors. On that site were all of these ship's logs here, which talk about everything that the ship did, what beaches it went on to, what stuff it dropped off, and so forth and so on. Plus, check this out. Somebody had submitted photographs of the crew of LST 656. Now, they're not identified, unfortunately, but I know that Michael Kalinchek is in one of these fantastic photographs that I printed off just to put in the file with this uniform. I couldn't believe it, ladies and gentlemen, an LST sailor. But here's the strange question. For he has the ruptured duck, but he also has the minesweeper insignia. Now, LSTs weren't minesweepers. They were landing ships. He also has this fantastic Liberty cuff and Liberty art for Shanghai. So how did that happen? Well, going back on Ancestry and digging deeper, I found that there was another ship, a minesweeper called the USS Sear. And the USS Sear had served in that same campaign with the LST 656, the invasion of southern France. Its job to clear mines out of the harbor, along the coast, etc., etc. During one of its missions, the mine that it was clearing exploded, and the ship was quite severely damaged. I believe it was 3 sailors were killed. This is from memory, so don't quote me 100%. But it was pretty tragic. The ship was damaged bad enough that it was going to have to be tugged back to the United States. Now, in December of 1944, the accident had occurred, but LST-656, its job was pretty much done. The invasion of France was well underway. Troops are now moving inland. Now they're just kind of going into a ferry type of role, and Seaman Kalinchek is transferred. He is transferred off the LST-656 in December of 1944 onto the USS Sear. And my guess is he probably was one of the seamen who replaced one of those men that had been unfortunately killed. Now, the ship is tugged back to the United States, undergoes a retrofit and repair. It does some service off the coast of Florida, and then goes to the Panama Canal on its way to the South Pacific, where it is in Hawaii when the war ends in August of 45. But that's not the end of the tour for the Sear. The Sear continues on to Japan, where it takes part in clearing mines all in Japan, in the harbors, and then along the coast of China. Hence, China, Shanghai. Now, ladies and gentlemen, minesweepers, they're not the most safe vessel to be on. You are clearing mines. These mines are very dangerous. They've been in the salt water for a while. Anything can happen as you're trying to disarm one and take care of it. So it's a pretty risky job, and it's, once again, fantastic to have a grouping like this. But my point with all of this, and I should conclude by saying that the Sear ended up serving its tour of duty, went back to the States in January of 46. Michael Kalinchek is then discharged from service. His tour is now over with. The ship goes on to be mothballed and then brought back for the Korean War, and then eventually I believe it was sold to the Norwegian Navy or something to that effect, where its career ended. But my point of telling you all this is that I went from a uniform that was neat. I mean, it's a neat uniform with the insignia and the artwork, to a uniform that is just crazy, crazy, crazy cool. And if I had not done that research, I would not have gotten the dog tag. I would not realize that Michael Kalinchek served aboard a landing ship tank. I would not realize that he was aboard the minesweeper Sear. I would not have all the records of what he did. And it just adds that much more depth to a really cool uniform. So I encourage all of you, look through the stuff you have. If there's a name in it, try doing the research. Now, this is gold right here. All right, this is striking gold. I have done a lot where you don't find much of anything, especially if you have something like J. Smith, where there are literally tens of thousands of J. Smiths in the world. So it does take that special moment where something just clicks right and it all comes together. But you'd be surprised. You may have a piece of gold in your collection and not even know it. So take the time, check things out, do the research. If you have questions, I can't do the research for you per se, but if you have questions like, gee, what is Ancestry again, and how do I get on it, and what does it look like, or what did you, just go ahead and shoot me a question. I'm happy to shoot you back, hopefully an answer that will help you move forward. So, on that note, this is Steve with another episode of Keep 'em Rolling, reminding all of you to, well, keep 'em rolling.